Hi everyone, this is my video for Forum for Module 7. Today I'll be discussing my research project and what I've been studying over the past couple weeks. So I chose to do my project on Mormonism and American patriotism, so specifically focusing on Mormons and their political leanings and beliefs about America and the Constitution and so forth. Mormons are one of the most, if not the most, politically cohesive and conservative religious group in the United States. A study that was done in the early 2000s found that over 88% of Mormons voted for conservative Republican leaders in the general elections and the local elections, which is a big amount. And currently in the United States, Mormons make up the fourth largest denomination in the United States. So there's quite a big conservative base there, quite a big population of people that are generally voting very conservative. So as I was researching this project, I just wanted to know specifically why Mormons are so conservative and what values or doctrines led them to have the political beliefs that they do. So I found quite a few reasons for this that are both cultural and doctrinal, but I'll just talk about three. So the first is that Mormons view the United States as a covenant land. They believe it was a place that was set aside by God, that would become a land of freedom and a land of prosperity. But due to that covenant with God, the American people have an extra responsibility to be righteous, to look to God in all things in order to maintain those freedoms. The Book of Mormon, their scripture, talks a lot about this and goes a little bit more into detail about the covenant land of America. Another big reason is that they have the doctrinal belief that the Constitution is divinely inspired by God. So leaders of the Mormon Church regularly state the importance of the Constitution and God's hand in its founding. Ezra Taft Benson, who was the prophet in the 80s and 90s, encouraged members of the church to read the Constitution, to read other historical documents like the Federalist Papers and things like that, so they could be very well versed and know the content, what they were fighting for, what they believed, what they upheld. And Dallin H. Oaks, who was a judge on the Utah Supreme Court and is now an apostle within the Mormon Church, stated that those who enjoy the blessings of liberty under a divinely inspired constitution should promote morality, and they should practice what the founding fathers called civic virtue. So there's this long-standing tradition, even today, of civic virtue being involved, knowing your history, knowing your what your political leaders are doing, that kind of whole idea. And lastly, religious freedom is very important to Mormons as a whole. They experienced a lot of really harsh persecution and violence in their early years. The governor of Missouri actually issued an extermination order of all Mormons. And they were eventually just forced to flee to Utah because they couldn't really catch a break from that. So a central doctrine within the Mormon Church is the idea of what they call agency, which is just free will. So God gave them this gift of agency, so they can always choose. Obviously, consequences will always follow, but you can still always choose what you want to do, and God's never going to take that away. So the fact that America is based on this idea that you have personal freedom, that you have religious freedom, that you can do these things, that you can choose what you want to do, is very sacred to them. And their history, they didn't experience maybe necessarily the government protection that they should have for their religious freedom. But it's very important to them as a whole now to uphold that. So just in closing, I found there's a lot of scholarly articles on the subject, which I was kind of surprised about actually. But this historian named Kenneth Wynn stated that the social and religious rebellion of Joseph Smith eventually led a bursting forth of Republican values. It was not a rejection of Republican values, but an attempt to restore them. So even back in the founding, these Republican conservative values within the Mormon Church were very prevalent, and they're still very prevalent today. And yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you for watching.